Hi guys, welcome back. Listen, today's YouTuber is Kelsey Danielle, and she got a comment from one of her viewers that just kind of got under her skin, and I want you to see exactly how she handled it. Tell me what you think in the comments.
My 3-month moon jar update just went live, and of course, within the first 5 hours, I'm always very active with the comments because I feel like the people that get to my videos that soon, they get the notification, I want to interact with them. So I got a comment on the video, and typically I don't pay attention to comments, but this one I wanted to address because it's comments like this that can, not so much of me, but it affects people like me who are wanting to have the surgery, who are in the most vulnerable part of their life, who are going through some serious things when they are considering weight loss surgery. But this person, of course, hiding behind it's a dummy account, an account that they've created because they are too much of a coward to use their face as the person who said that. And I'll put the comment here because I'm not going to delete it because people need to see. It says, "It seems the problem is your food addiction. You said you kept gaining weight no matter what you did, but did you eat and exercise? You want a quick fix like with the surgery. The problem seems you have no willpower and have not addressed your food addiction. Once you stop taking that medication, you're going to gain all your weight back." So this is the thing. I have PCOS, makes it easy to gain weight, hard to get it off because of these sugar levels, my insulin levels. It's a slippery slope for me. And yes, I am a food addict. I am a food addict through and through. I have never denied that. I have never said that I haven't dealt with them, that I don't struggle with those kind of issues. I have never made mention that I wanted a quick fix. This was probably the hardest decision of my life. It was probably the most scary decision that I've made in my life. And people that don't have willpower are not people who are out here considering weight loss surgery, because weight loss surgery is typically not for people who don't have willpower. Because just because you have a surgery where your stomach is lessened, you still have to have willpower. My life returned to normal after 2 years of my surgery. I live a normal life. I just can't eat the way I used to eat, meaning portions. I can eat whatever I want to eat. So not having willpower, that shit's out the window. It's people like this who take their time to come and spew this negative bullcrap on, channels, on content like mine. I'm not out here telling y'all, hey, this is a quick fix, do it, you're going to lose weight and you're going to be happy forever. No, I'm telling you the real deal, the raw and the uncut. That is who I am, and that is who I'm going to continue to be. And people like this feed the narrative that weight loss surgery is for people who don't have willpower. It's for people who don't have self-control. It's for people that give up, and that is not true.
Obviously, this is something that she feels really intense about, right? I would love to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. But sometimes things are just challenging. Some of us have challenges with relationships in our life. Some of us have troubles with our weight. Some of us have troubles with drug addiction. Everybody has their crux that you want to try to get over. But sometimes that's easier said than done. And when we throw out these comments, knowing that more than likely this person throwing out this comment probably has stuff in their life that they're not happy about. And then just like Kelsey said, they're able to hide behind the comment. It's infuriating. I love it. I love this stuff.
If you are considering weight loss surgery and you feel like you are at your wit's end and you cannot do anything to change your situation, I beg you to overlook individuals like this who continuously spew the rhetoric that weight loss surgery patients are weak-minded, incapable of doing things to better their lives without a surgery. I understand your pain, and I understand your situation, and I understand the mental state you have to be in to step into a surgery to allow someone to operate and take a part of your body that you will never get back. You don't know if you'll wake up off that table. You don't know if your surgery is going to go as planned. You do not know if your body will have adverse reactions to that surgery. I beg you. If you take nothing from my videos, take that you have all of the power in your hands to do everything you want to do, even if it's not weight loss surgery, even if it is just taking control of your life and losing weight the best way that you can.
That was one of the best rants I've heard in a long time. Again, when you leave comments, leave the comments that you want. Hopefully they're constructive. You have the right to leave a comment, even if it's not the coolest thing in the world to say. But again, do you really want to be that person? Especially when it's something like weight loss, because, we want people to live a long time. So again, can you say what you want to say? Of course you can. It's your right. But at the same time, think about what that does to people. So I wanted to leave this with a couple positive comments of Kelsey's. So Previe to me says, "Thank you. I get so depressed sometimes thinking that. That's what people think of me. So much so that I start to think it myself. But I'm grateful for reminders like this from this community. Thank you." And then Lucy Boop 51 says, "Thank you, Kelsey. I'm struggling too. I read that shitty comment too. People are so quick to judge what they don't understand. Much love." Kelsey, when you do videos like you do, not only does it pull out the people that kind of leave the crappy comments, but your words, your enthusiasm, your love and compassion for your viewers, it shows and you keep people motivated. So keep doing what you're doing. And for all of you guys that have been following me, you helped motivate me, and I hope that I'm able to help motivate you as well. So speaking of motivation, why don't you guys go get your shoes? Let's go for a walk. Good morning, Venters. Happy Monday. It is Sunday where I am. There's a garage sale according to a little sign right here, and it's pointing down this way. So with that being said, let's walk by the yard sale and let's see if it's any good. I think I've told you guys before that the best yard sales are usually in good neighborhoods because they usually sell something worth a darn. When you go into yard sales in my neighborhood, it's usually people selling their old clothes for 50 cents, which is really crazy because, with 110-degree temperatures, why would anybody want to be outside selling 50-cent t-shirts that are 5 or 6 years old? Really, really crazy. Oh, but here is the yard sale. It's right here. Hey, that's not too bad. They got a motorcycle up. I don't know if the motorcycle's for sale, and even if it was, who the heck can buy something like that in a yard sale? But yeah, the problem with yard sales is people don't sell stuff worth buying. They sell stuff worth giving away. And usually, if you're selling your own trash, you're not going to make much money off of it. When I used to have yard sales, I would sell workout equipment and good stuff for really cheap, which is a good yard sale, but it makes for a foolish person that's selling their stuff. Sometimes you're in a pinch, sometimes you're moving, sometimes you're so broke you just need to round up some money. And in the past, I've checked all those boxes at certain times during my life, and I'm certain that you guys have too. Was there ever a time in your life where you sold a video game system, or where you sold a car, or you did something that, looking back, was kind of foolish? You kind of did something at a loss. Well, you know what? Sometimes life dictates that, right? Sometimes you're broke and you're desperate and you need to pay rent or this, that, and the other. And so before you know it, you're selling stuff for real cheap. And sometimes people even take their jewelry and stuff. And I'm sure you've heard they'll take it down to a pawn shop, end up not taking it out of pawn, and before you know it, you've let go of some pretty valuable mementos in your life. If you're ever in that situation where you have to kind of hustle and you have to do what you have to do,
let's pray that it's a temporary thing and that you'll be over it real quick. Speaking of temporary thing, the tech outage from CrowdStrike, I was watching videos just this morning, and keep in mind it's Sunday where I am, and the videos were describing that yesterday in Heathrow Airport, the lines were just atrocious, and a lot of people had a lot of really weird situations where they had spent $400, $500, $600 a ticket for 3, 4, 5 people in their party. The airlines had offered them, $100 refunds, this, that, and the other. And it's just really, really a tough situation. A lot of times the news will show something all day on a Friday. And on a Saturday and Sunday, they lessen the coverage, so you only see a couple of hours worth of coverage as you go further on. And a lot of times you almost would believe, oh, okay, well that problem's over, on to the next one, right? But that problem's not over. And that outage could be affecting things for days going forward or even weeks. And it just goes to show you, man, there are some real pros when people and countries go digital. And there are some real cons if you end up having problems with that. So here's the thing, if there would have been a hack, if there would have been a cyber issue, it would be very similar to what's happening now. For all of this to happen because Windows pushed through an update or CyberStrike pushed through an update, God, it just seems ridiculous. And I don't know if you guys have heard the rumors, but apparently it's a situation where tech experts and IT experts have to go through the data one person at a time to try to fix things. It sounds very inefficient, and I just can't believe in their mock trials of these new products and these new patches and these new updates, I can't believe they didn't see this potentially coming. Does anybody else find that odd? You're telling me you didn't have contingency plans for if this happens? You know what that means, guys? That means that no matter how you slice or dice it, it's vulnerable for this same exact issue with every single update they do. How are they going to fix that? Oh yeah, they're probably not. They're just going to hope that it goes away, right? And then all of a sudden in the future, it's probably going to happen again. And you want to know something? If I were Russia or China, Iran, or one of these rogue hackers, right? I think now is the time to attack. Well, I don't think we've even recovered from the car thing. Do you guys remember a couple weeks back? We were talking about how car dealerships were offline and they were having to scramble. And oh yeah, that might take weeks before they're able to fix. Well, I have a feeling that it's still not fixed yet. So we have this situation that nobody cares about car dealerships, right? Because maybe you own your car outright. Maybe you have no interest in purchasing or leasing a car. For all I know, the car industry is still having troubles with their hack from last month. You combine that with the hack that do you guys remember about a month or two ago? There was a medical industry that was hacked, and they were having situations where the hackers were demanding ransom, this, that, and the other. Some of these companies don't have enough money and funding to really pay off these expensive ransoms. And then the scary thing about the ransom stuff, even when these companies pay the ransom to the bad guys, supposedly it's been going okay where the bad guys will give them access to their data back. But what's preventing them from saying, thanks for the money, you're still screwed? So again, that looks like a real shitty way to attack things in the future, right? Either you don't pay the ransom and your customers' data is up for grabs, right, by the bad guys that supposedly already have it, or you pay the ransom and that's going to become a trend in the future. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but whenever there's ransomware and stuff done to these companies, it's not like they ask for $1 million. They ask for ungodly amounts of money. How long can that go on? So yeah, this data outage, or this tech outage that they're having with the airports and stuff, God, that doesn't look like it's going to go away anytime soon. Speaking of not going away anytime soon, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but there's a new drug called, I think it was Tuso or Tyso, and it's basically known by its AKA of pink cocaine. And apparently this is something that Diddy is kind of known for and made popular. And apparently it's overdosing people all around the country, and they're dropping like flies. Now check this out. Sometimes when people tell you about things and how strong they are, it's kind of hard to imagine. For example, with heroin, right? We always knew that with heroin addicts, there was a chance that they could, that they could overdose. Where do heroin addicts come from? Where we know that a lot of people, when they get out of surgeries and have painful health conditions, they would get addicted to Oxycontin. The Oxycontin would come to a situation where their doctors weren't able to renew their prescriptions. So what did they do? They started finding their drug of choice on the street in the form of like street heroin, right? Well, the street heroin all of a sudden has a situation where instead of heroin, what do? They buy fentanyl. What's the problem with fentanyl? Well, fentanyl is what, 50 times stronger than heroin? So all of a sudden you have a situation where people are overdosing. Okay, where do we go from here? Well, apparently now there's a new drug. Have you heard about ISO? And apparently ISO is 50 times stronger than fentanyl. The thing I find amazing about this is that if you have fentanyl that's 50 times stronger than heroin, people are on the heroin because they can't get the Oxycontin anymore. And now instead of fentanyl, the DEA and these different drug agencies have found that pills that look like they're prescription pills are now filled with this ISO that's 50 times stronger than fentanyl. So we keep going up in tiers. What's going to happen with the ISO when it comes to the Narcan? Well, we already have an idea of what's going to happen. Apparently we have a situation where people are just going to start overdosing like crazy because there's preliminary talks that the Narcan doesn't work. So we're getting these drugs that are progressively stronger and stronger, and now we're getting to the point where you're going to start seeing these people that are hunched over like zombies, and they're going to actually start passing away. And so that's very unfortunate. It would be nice if all these agencies that we paid, out the wazoo for in the form of taxes, it would be nice if they actually could solve a problem. Do you guys think it's weird that every year we throw more and more money towards this junk, yet every year things get worse rather than better? You know how every year people in this country especially like to get an annual raise? And people in this country feel disrespected when they get a raise that's small, right? You ever had your boss come up and he offers you a raise and it's just so pathetic, it's almost a slap in the face, and it's like, why did you bother? Well, when it comes to the DEA and the FBI and all these three-letter organizations that we have, the people that work there are no different. They go to their supervisors every year, talk about what a hell of a job they did, and they expect their annual raise. I mean, government jobs are like that. They promise you annual raises when you go work for the government. But at the same time, I would feel embarrassed asking for a raise if I sucked, I would feel embarrassed. I would feel like, hey, I suck at my job. I don't want to ask for a raise. I'm just going to be quiet and hope they don't fire me, right? Well, if you work for the DEA, the FBI, and you have all these people dropping left and right from overdoses on fentanyl, and now the good news you bring to the public is all the money we spent on you is to find out and discover there's a new drug out there called ISO, and it's 50 times worse than fentanyl. It sounds to me like you guys don't deserve a raise at all. I think what we ought to do is we ought to start saying, until you guys can fix things, we're going to start taking funding away from you guys. God, it is just pathetic. They have set it up where it permanently gets more and more expensive to live. They've also set it up where problems get worse and worse. They've also set it up where those problems, nobody takes care of it because you let criminals right out of jail, right out of prison. I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple years back, they would arrest people that had thousands of pills of fentanyl, and then they wouldn't even prosecute them. You literally have murder pills in the form of a bag of murder pills, and you're not going to do anything about it? That's disgusting. We ought to literally investigate every single member of our government. We ought to investigate every single head of these three-letter organizations. We ought to literally find out where the corruption is, or not stop until we find it, because I think we're all pretty sure that it exists. And we ought to really start firing people. You know? It's crazy how whenever there's somebody that lets you down, like let's say you're the head of police, right? And some school shooter goes into a school and they shoot up the school. We have no problem asking the head of police or whoever's in charge to resign. But you want to know something, guys? Maybe that's not good enough anymore. We need to have accountability. Every time they find something bad, they have to do 8 years worth of investigations. It costs the taxpayers tens, if not hundreds of millions, or even sometimes billions of dollars. Screw that. Let's get some real leadership in there, and let's get some people that can get shit done. I'm tired of hearing about new drugs that pop out. You're telling me that it's just impossible to stop this stuff? If it's impossible to stop it, and our best defense is to go back to the 1990s and the DARE program, you know, a lot of people talk shit about the DARE program and how it was a waste of money. Well, let's look back and rewind. What exactly was the DARE program? It was a program where police would go to the different schools all around the country and talk about the dangers of marijuana and drugs. And people would get on them for talking about the dangers of marijuana. But the reality is marijuana is known to be a gateway drug. Well, what nowadays are people gatewaying to? They're ultimately gatewaying their way onto the cocaines and the cracks and the meths. They're having injuries in life which lead to the Oxycontins, the heroines, and the fentanyls, right? So if what you're telling us is that you can't stop anything and you're going to constantly need more funding, well, we might as well go back to the DARE program where at least we have a fighting chance. Let's send police into schools. Let's show them what fentanyl and heroin overdoses look like. And I think, and I'm serious, this is what we should do. We should literally flood kids with pictures of overdoses and see if we can talk some sense into these kids. I'm telling you, we really need to see heads roll on this. If you guys are tired of hearing about these updates too, how, oh, we found a new drug that's even deadlier, let me know down in the comments. I am sick of paying all these damn taxes. You know, your homeowner taxes go to schools, and all we hear all the time is how the schools suck. A couple years ago in Arizona, we had this Red for Ed campaign because all of our teachers were underpaid. Maybe they weren't underpaid. Maybe they earn exactly what they deserve, because guess what? Supposedly our kids don't know how to read. Supposedly our kids don't have any idea of what work ethic is. You know where you develop your work ethics, kids? In grade school, when you do your damn homework, when you put your phone away and you listen to the teacher. When you're in the classroom, guys, it is supposed to mock being in a job. Your teacher is supposed to be the equivalent of being a supervisor or manager in a job. Now, I can hear all the entrepreneurs saying, yep, they're training you to be a robot in society. We live in a world where we think everyone's going to be a YouTuber, and we think everyone's going to be an influencer, and we think everyone's going to be an entrepreneur. It's bullshit. Not everyone can do that. And look what happens when people do jump on the bandwagon. Everybody over the last 5 or 10 years jumped into tech. Guess who's having the hardest time finding jobs now? People in tech. Why? Because they're a dime a dozen. So you get rid of the experienced techsters that cost too much. You replace them with people that are willing to do their job for half the price, Who cares if they're American? We'll take people from India for all we care. And then you're kind of stuck in a situation where everybody's laid off. And now they don't even want people. They can replace you with AI. What a scam. There are little scams that happen right before our eyes, and we never wake up to it until it's too late. Isn't it weird that people used to want to be astronauts and firemen and doctors and surgeons, and now they all want to be YouTube influencers? It's ridiculous. And all these schools that popped up for coding, and now every video that you watch on coding and programming, it's people telling you that, hey, in the next 4 or 5 years, there's going to be a tech apocalypse simply because AI is going to be taking over. And now we're getting to the point where even when you go to get a burger at a fast food restaurant, you're no longer working with a human being, you're working with a kiosk. God, the last handful of times I've gone to McDonald's, I'm not even talking to a person. I'm pushing buttons on a kiosk when a person's right there. And it's horrible because every time you push a button into that kiosk, you're literally costing somebody that would have had a job. It's not like these companies are hiding what they do. It's miserable. We're living in a recipe for disaster and nobody sees it. Foolish. Good morning. So that's my event for today. That was the good news. That's what the DEA and the CIA and the Secret Service and the FBI, all these places, just a bunch of fools. Just a bunch of fools that underachieve, but yet constantly talk about how they're the best in the world when they're before Congress asking for yet again more funding. That's all it is. It's a money grab. That's all it is. I love how Christopher Wray, when he goes up before Congress and before the Senate, and he talks about things FBI related and cybersecurity and this, that, and the other. I love how he has the nerve to tell everybody that we're way behind the 8 ball, but yet we're the best in the world. Isn't that funny? What do you mean we're the best in the world? You just said we're behind the 8 ball. I would never go to a football team, right, and say, hey, this football team's inept, but they sure are the best football team in the world. What a scam. Get rid of these guys. Is the only person in politics that has a little confidence, is it only 45, right? By the way, I have a prediction. You know how when you go to a bank and you open up an account, they give you a debit card and they ask you to pick your PIN right there in front of them? I have a feeling a lot of new PINs for this upcoming year are going to be 45, 47, right? Because Trump was president 45, and I have a feeling he's going to be president 47. So if you steal a debit card in the future, criminals, and you want to take a random shot, go for 45, 47. You're probably going to be right a tenth of the time. That's my prediction. Do you guys think that'll come true? Do you think there's going to be at least a handful of people that open up bank accounts over the next year or two that go with a PIN number of 45, 47? That's what I think is going to happen. Hey, just for fun, what's your PIN number? Put it down. Put it down in the comments. When I vent, sometimes the vent is because I want to get your guys' emotion and your guys' input. But this is one of those vents that really does irritate me. I talk about this a lot. When you have somebody that constantly asks you for a raise, because that's what happens when these different places ask for more funding. It's akin to an employee asking an employer for a raise. Do you know any employer in their right mind that would want to give you a raise if you did subpar, if you did worse than all the others, if you did bad, if you caused the company losses? Do you know anybody that would want to give you a raise? And by the way, this is why people get pissed when we give funding to big companies and then they do stock rebuy options, right? Where they rebuy their stock to artificially inflate the value of the stock, and then they give their CEOs bonuses. It's absolutely no different. So when these places do subpar work and then they ask for more funding, and then what happens is the American person gets taxed that much more and nothing happens to the bad guys. And I really want to see these problems go away, not by us feeding them, by us refusing to feed them. We already have systems set up. When you see people doing drugs, they're part of the drug industry that's killing people. Get them off the streets, throw them in a cell, force them into getting sober, and then monitor them to make sure that they're sober so they can become members of society again. Don't let them become zombies until they die and just have us pay you more and more money because it's happening. It's just a big scam. And it's irritating. What we need to do is we need to quit being divided. The reason they're able to get that they're able to get over us with all this crap is because we're constantly divided. Let's quit giving people, here's your pay for getting fired for the next year. BS, you're fired, you're out of there. And if we find out that you were fraudulent while you were in there, found a way to pocket even a dime, you're going to jail. How come when other countries have a hard-ass dictator that comes in and starts jailing people and their problems start to disappear, we look at them like they're some backwards country? Maybe we're the backwards country. And think about how well they have us divided. They have us divided on abortion rights. They have us divided on whether you can go to school in your neighborhood or if you have the free right to send your kids to a private school down the street, right? Or a public school in another neighborhood, right? Another district. They divide us on everything. And then we all wonder why everything always happens against our will. It's because we're not united in anything. We were always told what a big failure DARE was. Well, you know what? If DARE, getting cops in front of kids, telling them that they need to avoid this shit, even though it was a failure, it sure does seem a lot better than what's happening now. Maybe it wasn't a failure. How can you even trust our leaders? They lie to us all the time. Anyway, this was a legit vent. I'm legit pissed about these things. Guess what's going to happen after ISO? It's going to be something else. It's a never-ending thing, and they know about it before it hits. So in other words, it's kind of like them seeing shit and not doing shit about it, other than making sure they get in front of us to ask for more money. It's a never-ending loop. It's obviously wrong. It's obviously fraudulent. If only we could unite and get these assholes out of our life. Think about that. Have a beautiful walk.